And please remind me while I'm thinking of it to upload yesterday's class,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll get done. I'd like to stay caught up. Okay, and we're at the top of the hour. We are. So my obeisances to everyone. Vanshakapa Tarujasha, Kripa Sindhu Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And our prayers to Srila Prabhupada for his blessings, his presence, and his empowerment. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitanamane, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Picharne, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskacha Deshitarne. And now that Parampara Prabhu has just joined in, we better say some words of the Parampara, the chain. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatavada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Scha. Jai, Hare Krishna, it's great to be with you.
And our obeisances to you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Narahari Dasa Gurudevi Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvisesh Shunyavari Pasada Deso Darune. Jai Gurudev.
Jai. Great to be with you all. Does anyone have any realizations or anything interesting you want to share that has touched your life?
I had group of Christians like Mormon. They came knocking at the door. I've been telling them like, I'm busy. They wanted to meet up, and finally we met up last weekend. They were sharing about their scriptures and all that, and they were asking me what is soul, all that thing, and I was telling them more about us too, like the how soul, we have 4 qualities. I told them like Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, like how soul is eternal, it's full of knowledge, beautiful, like that, like so sharing more. And I invited them to join our sangha. I haven't heard back from them, but we'll see.
You probably won't, but if they just listen, Hare Krishna, Ali, thanks for joining us, dear. If they, by you speaking, if they're listening, if they're genuinely listening to you, and you're just vibrating Shabda Brahma, they're getting purified.
Right.
The seed is in. Speaking of the seed coming in, I had a very interesting experience yesterday that was very sweet. On New Year's morning, I went for a japa walk. So I'm walking, and I looked down in the middle of the road. There was a wallet. I mean, probably nothing in it, but a better check. And I picked it up, and it was full of very important. There was somebody in the military. It was a major in the British Army, and it still had money in it. So I realized, it wasn't like a stolen wallet, or they would certainly take the money out. And it had, I think, 8 different real important official military. The guy was a major, and he had all this important stuff in the wallet. But there's no phone number to call them or anything, and pretty much everything led to the UK. So I tried to call the consulate. They weren't helpful. I called. There was something that indicated that he may be connected with the army here. So I called like the headquarters of the Army. And of course, there's all these, you only get certain choices when you call in on the rotary. So I forgot which one I picked. It didn't make any sense. But anyway, nobody could help me. They said we don't really have a database that has all the military. That wasn't helpful. Well, long story short, I finally noticed that there was a Visa card that was somehow from Bank of Hawaii. So I couldn't call on New Year's Day, but the day after, which was that yesterday? Or maybe it was, anyway, this all happened. This New Year's is when I found the wallet, and I was out all day that day sailing with some friends. And, but it was yesterday that I finally called the Bank of Hawaii and read him the credit card number, and they got in touch with him, and he called me up, and he was real happy, that I had it. So anyway, he came over to my place, and first of all, I could barely understand what he was saying. He's from
I think you say Scotland.
Scotland. Thank you. Yeah, he's from Scotland. So he had this very strong Scottish accent, but he was very sweet. And he brought me, where's the box? Oh, yeah. He brought me some, anyway, there's no eggs or anything in it, nothing, so I could offer them shortbread. So he brought me that, and he wanted to give me the money that was in his wallet. I wasn't going to take anything. I did accept the cookies, which I was able to offer them to the deities. And I could just tell he was sweet. He was really sweet. Figure, a major, it could be like a big shot. That's pretty much a big shot, isn't it? A major? Nitai?
Mid-level, mid-shot. Yes, Maharaj. Gurudev.
A mid-level big shot. Okay. So but he was working with the U.S. Army, helping them with certain things. So, I had to make this something spiritual about this. So I said, I'm not going to give your wallet back unless you agree to certain things. He said, okay. And I said, you have to chant this mantra for me. And he saw my shirt. I was wearing this shirt. And he said, oh, isn't that the God that removes obstacles? Now, of course, who was he thinking of? What would you think? Who was he thinking of? The God that removes obstacles.
Ganesh.
Yes, Ganesham, of course, yeah, Ganesh. And so he recognized that. So I tied it together, and I said, "Do you know anything? Have you ever seen the Hare Krishnas?" He said, "Oh yeah, I've seen them in Scotland." So anyway, I got him to chant with me, and I said, "Now the other thing is, there's one requirement. Is I'm going to give you a book." And I made him tell me, and he got it right off the bat, about what's going on, the cycle of birth and death. So, yeah. And then I said, you have to read this book and get back to me with questions. And it was like he was excited about it. So anyway, it just turned something that could have been relatively mundane, just being, finding his wallet, making sure he got it back, and he got everything he needed. But he wrote me back, and even after he left, thanking me so much, and it was sweet. It kind of touched me because he was just sweet, a real sweet guy. And anyway, always try to Krishnaize everything that we do. So at the end of the day, I can look back and think, well, I didn't just do a nice deed by giving somebody their wallet back. I wanted to give him something better than his wallet. I wanted to give him Krishna. And he was very receptive. He chanted the mantra. I mean, boy, that starts everything, right? So anyway, I just want to share that. It's a simple little thing that we want to, I mean, sometimes you can't pull it off, but more often than not, it seems we're able to add some Krishna to something. So I was in a position kind of above him in that I had his wallet. I was in control. And if he was a creep, I was going to get him to chant the mantra. He wasn't going to get it back. I mean, ultimately I would have, but it's against my religion or something. I'd probably back off and give it to him. But I just took that opportunity to plant a seed in there. And it made me feel good. I know the deities liked it. So anyway, give me one moment. I'm going to just run to the little boys' room. You can chat amongst yourself. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm sorry. So we have two questions today, one from Nitai and one from Ellie, and they're actually very much related. So they really fit well together. So I'm going to read both of the questions, and then we're going to have a discussion that really encompasses both, because they're definitely related. So Nitai was the first, and his question was, this is one of my favorite parts of the Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, where the 9 yogendras, very, very saintly sons of King Rishabdev, were speaking to the king, King Nimi. Okay, so this is the verse. The great sage Kavi, so he's one of the nine yogendras. The great sage Kavi has informed King Nimi about the general external symptoms of a devotee of the Lord, namely his appearance, personal qualities, and activities. But now King Nimi asks how to make subtle distinctions among the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that the first class, second class, and lower class Vaishnavas can be clearly indicated. Everybody got that? He wanted to know how you can tell who's an advanced devotee, who's in the middle, and so on. Okay. Is this a purport which says, but for practical advancement in Krishna consciousness, one should associate? Is that Nitai?
No, part of the purport.
That's the purport, okay.
Right.
So the purport, and by the way, this is not, Prabhupada did not write this purport. This is after Prabhupada had left externally. But for practical advancement in Krishna consciousness, one should associate at least with a second-class devotee. And if one can receive the mercy of a first-class devotee of the Lord's, one's perfection is very easily guaranteed. Thus, Nimi Maharaj is humbly inquiring, what are the character, behavior, and speech of devotees? The king wants to know the particular symptoms of body, mind, and speech by which the different categories, uttama-adhikari, madhyama-adhikari, and Kanishtha-adhikari, are clearly identified. So Nitai's question is, wanted to hear your realizations on what things we need to be aware of and understand when learning about different classes of devotees. Thank you, Gurudev, for your unconditional love, blessings, and mercy. And Ellie, and I find this related, her question is, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the proper way to pay obeisances. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Okay, so there are descriptions in our scriptures about this, where it is actually described the qualities of an advanced devotee. For example, Kapiladeva, who was an incarnation of Krishna, I believe a Shakti Vaishavatar, he said, Titikshava Karunika Suhrida Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatarashanta Sadhava Sadhabhushanam. Sadhubhushana means, sadhu means, we all know what a sadhu is, right? A saintly person. And bhushan means like ornaments, like you ornament a Christmas tree, right? You put all these ornaments on the Christmas. It's what, I mean, basically it's just a fir tree, but when it has the ornaments, it becomes very, very beautiful. Did anybody see some really pretty Christmas trees this year? Yeah, I saw on, somebody sent me a picture of her and her husband standing next to this beautiful tree at I think it was a Kahala Mall. At the mall, it was really beautiful. I mean, boy, I thought, wow, somebody really knew what they were doing when they decorated this tree. It was absolutely gorgeous. So, sadhava. Okay, so let's go through those qualities that were mentioned, the different ornaments that a devotee is ornamented with. So, titikshava. Titikshava means, anybody know what it means? Titikshava means very tolerant. He's very, very tolerant. One who's advanced in spiritual life, nothing bothers them. They're very, very tolerant. It may bother them, but not like really bothers them. We're depending on how elevated we are. But one of the things that we should all be experiencing at this point is that things aren't bothering us as much. It's kind of like waking up from a dream. We're starting to see this stuff doesn't really have anything to do with me, with my soul. And this is just stuff that happens in the material world. You may not like it, but it's just not that big of a deal. Tatikshava Karunika. What does Karunika mean?
Compassion, karuna, compassion.
Yes, yeah, compassionate. Yeah, very merciful. Karunika. Tatikshava Karunika Suhrida Sarvadehinam. Anybody translate that? Suhrida Sarvabhutanam. Suhrit. He's the friend of every living entity. How can he be the friend of every living entity? Even a poisonous snake or a scorpion or a centipede, because he knows Krishna's in their heart. He knows that the soul, the pure soul, and Krishna's in the heart of that being. Therefore, he's a friend. Just like, for example, Donald Trump, who I don't particularly like. I mean, he's a goofball, but I respect in him that he is a pure devotee. and pure love of God is in his heart. He's a pure soul. He's just in a bad way. Sometimes we meet bad people, but we always want to see them from a spiritual perspective. This is someone who's really influenced by the modes of nature, and I wish I could help them. Ellie can relate to that. It's very helpful that we were able to see that in the good, and that we may not want to be around them. We may want them out of our life, but we wish them well. I wish honestly, God, I wish Donald Trump, who's in one sense the most powerful man in the world, human being in this world, and he's messing everything up. But somehow Krishna's using him to do his plan, to make the planet uninhabitable, to turn people to Krishna. So Sukrita Sarvadehinam. Ajatra Shatra. Anybody knows what that might mean? Ajatra Shatra. Ajata means unborn, and Shatra means enemy. It means that he has no enemy. His enemy was never born. He has no enemies. He may be an enemy of someone. I know people that don't like me, but that's okay. I still wish them well. They're not my enemy. So his enemy was never born. Ajatra Shatra Shanta. Sadhava. Sadhava means that he's very religious. He follows scripture. Sadhu Bhushanam. Sadhu Bhushan. These are the ornaments worn by a great devotee. So, and in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes a Brahmin. Samo dhamma tapakshalcham kshantir arjavam evacha agyanam shatra shanta. I'm starting to mix the two verses. Anyway, the Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita the qualities of a real Brahmana. Samo dhamma tapakshalcham kshantir arjam evacha agyanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma savavasham. The same. This is also just listing the very, very similar qualities that a real Brahmana has. And but to really, so we want to, and we're instructed by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction how to associate with different levels of devotees. Therefore, we have to make a distinction. So he says, Krishneti gyasya giritang manasendriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibis chabajansham isham shushushiyabhajana vigyamananya anya nindari shunyam hridam ipsita sangalabhya. I'll translate that. Krishneti gyasya giritang. So anyone who will vibrate the name of Krishna on their tongue. Krishneti Jasya Giritang Manasendriyata. Manasendriya. That means in our mind. We're anybody that we hear the word Krishna come out of their mouth, no matter how weak or off the person is at chanting the holy name. Wow, he's vibrating the holy name, regardless of how pure his heart is. Manasendriyata. In our mind, we offer obeisances. Our respect. We offer our respects. We may not want to associate with them, right? So many times I get questions about there's this devotee, that devotee that's has this problem, that problem. But we offer them respect, but don't associate with them. Okay, diksha. Okay, and then so Krishnachi just get a tongue when to say dikshasti che. So diksha means initiation. Dikshasti che chanavidistam. That one who has taken diksha, one who's initiated devotee. Now, I'm assuming Rupa Goswami is talking about an initiated devotee that's following, not an initiated devotee that's nonsense, but someone who's taking spiritual life very seriously. And I would say that even someone who's not initiated but is seriously following, we offer obeisances to them. And the last part of the verse is that with that devotee who has completely free from the desire to criticize others, in other words, someone who's a very advanced devotee, we look to serve that person. We want to serve that person, not just honor them, but to serve them. Because by serving that person, that's how we make great advancement, by serving an advanced devotee, which is really what you're all doing right now. Now, not that I'm advanced, I'm putting on a good show here, but by your hearing, and that's serving. Remember, there's 9 types of devotional service, and shravanam, hearing, is very, very important. There's a verse, Shushusho Dadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Shen Mahat Shevyabhipra Punya Kirtana Shevana. This is a verse early on in the Bhagavatam, which says that by serving the advanced devotees, we develop in our heart a desire, an intense desire to hear about Krishna. We want to hear about Krishna. We want to connect with Krishna. Okay, so we've got the different levels of devotees. And for those who aren't clear, who can tell us what is a Kanishtha-adhikari? There's 3 levels: Kanishtha, madhyam, and uttama. Who can tell us, anyone, what is an Kanishtha-adhikari? What are his qualities? That's kind of the first level. Kanishtha-adhikari. Anybody?
Kanishtha-adhikari has faith in scriptures but not strong faith. And Kanishtha-adhikari sometimes sees a difference between God and devotees. They prefer respecting the God, but sometimes they don't see the devotees are equally important.
Exactly.
And they
Very
don't have
good.
a strong scriptural understanding. Like they may not be they have like weak faith in scriptures.
Right. Very good. What Prabhupada often will say, they see God and they focus on God in the temple. They see the deity, they believe in the deity, but when they come out of the temple, they can't take that with them. So they don't offer respect to people. They don't see, as we're describing, that everyone's a pure devotee. Everyone has Krishna in their hearts. He sees Krishna in the temple, but he doesn't see it in the heart. He can't get it, that Krishna's in the heart of every living entity. That's a good start, Kanishtha-adhikari. It's a good start. Okay, so madhyama-adhikari. Anybody say a little bit about madhyama-adhikari? Nitai?
I guess, yeah, madhyama, they, in spite of anything, they want to preach, although they make distinction of who is a devotee and who is not, but they want to give Krishna consciousness to everyone, basically.
Yeah, they're seeing Krishna everywhere. It's not limited to the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And generally they want to share with others. And uttama-adhikari, anyone? Uttama means uttama. That means the topmost devotee is one who's totally absorbed, totally in his mind absorbed in ecstasy, in love of Krishna. He's not preaching. They're in samadhi. Now, often an uttama-adhikari will step down, even though he's still an uttama-adhikari, but he acts on a level of a madhyam, like Prabhupada. Prabhupada preached to his last breath, even though we know he was a complete, pure, super empowered devotee, like none other. He changed the world. I mean, he really changed the world. And boy, we're all indebted to Prabhupada, who came, and if it wasn't for Prabhupada, none of us would be here. I don't even want to think where I would be. Many of you have had really good births in Nepal, India. They're kind of in your blood, in your bloodline. But boy, I don't know where I would be. So these are the different levels of devotee. It's interesting, the question about, well, how do we pay obeisances? And that's a whole sort of a different, it's related to what we're talking about. So I suppose there's many ways to pay obeisances. The most important of all, no matter how it's physically done with the body, the most important is where our heart's at. I can't tell you how many times I've bowed down before my deities and even bowed down before Prabhupada mechanically, just mechanical. That's kind of shooting with blanks. It's not a bad start. In fact, there was one devotee, everybody knows, it's just in the Lilamrita, it's there, Brahmananda, who was one of the very, 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 very first people to come at 26 2nd Avenue. And this is back when we called Prabhupada Swamiji. We didn't call him Prabhupada. We didn't even know how to honor. But Prabhupada taught them about offering obeisances. So Brahmananda's like, he says what's on his mind. He says, Swamiji, I don't really like bowing. I don't really like bowing down all the time to you. And but he said it so innocently. I know Brahmananda. He's very, very cool. He said, Swamiji, I don't always like bowing down all the time. And Prabhupada said, well, just do it, and the feeling will come. And he was so right. So we offer physically, when we see Prabhupada, the first thing we do is offer obeisances. Now, there's an interesting story that was told that very often, especially in the early days, when we'd see Prabhupada, devotees were fanatical. We just lay down on the ground, no matter where we were. We just lay down like a stick. Prabhupada has come. So one day, Prabhupada he arrived in the car to the temple. Devotees were all outside. Well, I guess were under I forgot how they were doing it, but it was raining out. So I guess they had, umbrellas and stuff. So when Prabhupada got out of the car, one brahmachari, he laid down, raining out now, right? He laid down and offered his full obeisances to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said to him, tell him to get up. What is he doing? He wasn't pleased with that. Living in a temple, it was pretty understood that if we saw a sannyasi or an advanced devotee, we would physically offer obeisances once when you first see him in the day. but practically, live it out in the world. If you see someone, you're, at a mall, it might be a little odd to go down and offer obeisances. We just, in our hearts, it's so wonderful to see you. We don't want to make a scene, make people think we're kind of weird bowing. I mean, in America, maybe it's different in India and different in Nepal. That for somebody bowing down, and why don't you all tell me, our Nepalis, is it not super weird if somebody in a mall bows down to someone? Not speak, Nitai.
Yeah, like when we see elders, like because I never saw like much sannyasi, but anytime you see any sannyasi or like sadhu outfit, yeah, no problem. Any way you see them, like people offer obeisances, and like when we see our elders, then we just bow down to them and they place their hands on our head, like give blessings. So it's not weird. Like,
got it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, so in America, it may not, we don't want to create a scene. People think we're too weird. So, we may not in America, but Ghanshyam, is that your experience in Nepal? Similar?
I didn't see any devotees bowing down to other devotees in Nepal because I wasn't into that domain. But as Nitai Prabhu said, yes, we do bow down to our elders.
Right. Okay, got it. So that's the same, yeah. But in America, you don't see that. I've never seen anybody bow down to my grandfather or grandma or mother. It's just America's doesn't have much culture to it. America, the only culture we have is cowboys and Indians, and killing cows. America's not. At least we got freedom of speech and freedom of religion, but it doesn't have much culture. Prabhupada has brought culture. He's brought culture to the whole world. Okay, so now another point that I have to make, that's a very important point, is that I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story from Lord Chaitanya Leela that you may or may not have heard before. But it's an amazing story. How we're doing for time? Yeah, we're good. So Lord Chaitanya, something the devotees never heard before. He started moaning and crying. He was Pundarik, Pundarik, Pundarik. When will you come, Pundarik? And the devotees said, they didn't know what Lord Chaitanya was talking about. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was anyway, nobody knew him. They didn't know what Lord Chaitanya. So they asked Lord Chaitanya, who was it? Who was this Pundarik Vidyanidhi? And Lord Chaitanya said, you wouldn't even recognize him if you saw him. But he's a great, great, great devotee, and he was just thinking about him. And the reason is because he was an incarnation of was it Radharani's father or grandfather? I can't remember. I'd have to look that back up. But he was the father, incarnated. He came into Lord Chaitanya's Leela. As Radharani came, she came as Gadadhara. So her father came. So it's like I have to look it up. I could find it easy. But he was either his father or his grandfather of Radharani. So he really appreciated him. So Govinda was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And Govinda knew him. He knew all about Pundarika Vidyanidhi. And so one day, apparently, Pundarik was able to hear Lord Chaitanya's calling. So he came to Navadvip. And he came, and Govinda, who knew him, because they grew up in the same town, he knew he was a great, great, great exalted devotee. So he went to Gadadhar. Gadadhar was a very innocent, this is Radharani, by the way, in the form of a male and a sannyasi. Was Gadadhar a sannyasi? No. Anyway, but a great devotee. And he went to Gadadhar and he said, there's a very saintly person. Would you like to meet that person? And Gadadhar got all excited. Yeah, I love being around saintly people. Please take me to see this person. So Mukunda took him, and he arrived. Pundarik arrived in a palanquin, and there was 4 people holding the palanquin. And Pundarika Vidyanidhi, he was looking at himself in the mirror, smiling at himself in the mirror. And he had, his hair was all, slicked back. He had very expensive oil in his hair. And he had, on either side of him, he had spittoons. And he was taking betel nut. And he was eating betel nuts, which devotees don't do. And he was spitting in the spittoons. And looking at himself and, glancing himself very... And he was wearing all kinds of fancy silks. He was sitting on a very silk pillows, and people were fanning him. When Gadadhar saw this, he was aghast. What have you taken me to see this materialist? I mean, he was like the ultimate materialist. Ultimate materialist. Admiring himself in the mirror. And he had all different kinds of spices and stuff. And he was being fanned, and all these servants. So Gadadhar couldn't believe that Mukunda would take him to see such a materialistic person. He didn't know what to think, but he knew this person is, I don't want to be here. Let's get out. How can I get out of here? So Mukunda, knowing that Pundarika Vidyanidhi, that he had to show Gadadhar how he was a pure devotee. So Mukunda started reciting from the Bhagavatam a verse that describes how Krishna was so merciful. Krishna is so merciful to everyone that even Putana the witch. Ellie, do you know who Putana was? Can you tell us about Putana? What did she try to do to Krishna?
Putana came as disguised as a nurse and came with poison on her breast to kill baby Krishna, and Krishna ended up sucking the life force out of her, but she became liberated because she died taking care of Krishna. Perfect.
So when Pundarika Vidyanidhi heard this voice, heard from the voice of how Krishna was so merciful, all of a sudden he started going into ecstasy. And he fell off the palanquin, and his hair was all disheveled, and he was like he was going to hurt himself because he was in such ecstasy. And a whole bunch of men just tried to hold him down. It was almost impossible to hold him. So Gadadhar now realized, oh my God, I was thinking very offensively of this great, great, great devotee. And what did Gadadhar do to show his sincerity, how sorry he was, and try to right the situation? What did Gadadhar do? Who knows?
Sri
Yes.
Pundarik was accepted as a Gurudev by Gadadhar Pandit. Becomes
Yes.
Gadadhar's Guru. Yeah.
Perfect. Gadadhar went and he begged that Pundarik would initiate him because he wasn't even initiated. But he was a great, great devotee. So what does this tell us? What was a lesson? What was this all? Why was this in Lord Chaitanya's Leela? I'm going to ask Ellie because Ellie's pretty smart. Ellie, what would you say the lesson from this Leela was?
That you can't judge a person based on their outward appearance.
Perfect. We're not always going to get it right. So there's a verse that Lord Chaitanya said, wasn't at this time, but a very famous verse. Janyar chitti Krishna prem kurye udoy tanra vakya kriya mudra vigeya nabujoy. This is beautiful Bengali. He's saying that Janra, in his Janya Chitti Krishna Prem, Korye Udoy, in the heart of someone who is, Udoy means to awaken, in the heart of someone where love of God has awakened, someone whose love of God is in their heart. He said, Tanra, Tanra means his, Tanra Vakya Kriya Mudra. So, Tanra Vakya, Vakya means by his words. Kriya means by his activities. And Mudra means like his symptoms. You can't, Vigeya Nabujoy. Vigeya means somebody who's very learned. Nabujoy. He can't even tell. You can't always tell who's an advanced devotee and who's not an advanced devotee. So, okay, so how do I end this? How do I tie this all up for you? Because right now it's just shattered all over the place. We do the best we can, and we err on the side of caution. Better assume somebody who appears to be an advanced devotee, even though you never really know for sure, until you really, really get to know that person. We err on the side of caution. But you can never tell. And I've seen, I've been disappointed. You meet someone, you think everybody's, oh, this is a great devotee, and, they give a great class and so on. But next, they got all this is going on in their life and that's going on in their life and so on. So we've learned to check it out carefully, but err on the side of caution. Better, I would rather offer my obeisances to a charlatan than not offer my obeisances to a saint. In other words, I'm going to err on the side of caution. If somebody's a charlatan, I may well be offering my respects to them. But later find out. But a saintly person, better to err on the side of caution. Does that help?
Gurudev, one question in this connection.
Yes.
So normally, always, like, we know that we sometimes we try to make judgment that this is Kanishtha, this is madhyama, this is uttama, and we are making the judgment, and we are trying to avoid devotees in that way.
I want to say something. And then I want you to go on, because a thought came in my mind. There's Kanishtha, madhyam, and uttama, right? 3. But it's not like in the military. You help me out here. In the military, if you have a particular rank, it's very clear where you are, right? If you get upgraded, then you're in a whole different rank. You're in one or the other or the other. Am I correct?
Yes, Gurudev.
But it's not that way in this situation. There's infinite shades of green in between. In other words, somebody may be, partly somewhere between madhyam and Kanishtha, right? There's all kinds of shades of green in between. So it's not black and white. It's not black and white. So I just want to say that you made me think of that. So I wanted to clarify. Okay, so finish your question.
Yes, Gurudev. I think you answered also in that regard. What I wanted to explain was that we are making the judgment. At the same time, when we make the distinction as Kanishtha, we are seeing others anarthas. But at the same time, we also know we also have anarthas.
Right.
So there are people who are devotees are tolerating us also, but we always feel that we are only tolerating them. So that is why that essence we should all never forget, or that if we forget that, that's the main problem. The problem we see outside, but the real problem is here, right? Because at the end we want to destroy our own ego, false kam, krodh, lobha, mat, matsarya, all our ego. And if we start seeing faults on others, where is our own benefit? Where is our own benefit?
We have to look. We have to do it all. We have to judge. We do our best. But if I see somebody who's talking prajalpa all the time and criticizing people, that's good enough for me. I'm going to avoid that person. And even though I know I've got faults, I'm working on them. And even that person, they may also be in the shower. In other words, they're trying to purify themselves, but they're not there yet, and therefore I feel it'd be harmful for me to associate with that person. So it's important that we make distinctions the best we can. Does that make sense?
Yes, Gurudev, that makes sense, Gurudev. Yeah. So yeah, because we are trying to make our life. We're trying to improve our spiritual health. If somebody is being, not so good to our spiritual health, then we try to make that avoid. But we should not be spending our time criticizing them, right, Gurudev?
Correct.
But if we start criticizing them, then we get to the aparadh.
Correct. Now, you may find yourself, position I've been in as a temple president for many years, sometimes you have to confront someone. You have that adhikar that you will talk to them about their problems. If that person has respect, some respect for you, then sometimes it's kind of a thankless task. But if we see someone who's having difficulties and doing something wrong, if we're in that position, then we should try to help them. We don't want to just, avoid them if we can help them. And many times we can't. But if we can, then we do. Okay, any other questions? We've got about 5 minutes. Especially anything about what we've just discussed, because we covered some really important things here today.
Yeah, I like the example of how Brahmananda Prabhu you mentioned, Prabhupada told him that, even though now you don't feel like it, the feeling will come. And And for us, like, because you coming to the temple in the beginning, you never judged us like, oh yeah, you don't follow this, you don't follow. No, like, you always looked us, you always accepted us. You were the first person who embraced us. Like, no other people would talk, like, tell anything. You were the one who told us, like, hey, start chanting. It's been a year. Like, you've been coming to the temple. And you invited us to your home, like, and we had kirtan. You would tell us, encourage us to ask questions, and you encouraged us to, like, chant, and you maintain our connection. So yeah, so thank you.
Well, I learned that from the Abhirama, the one devotee who took me under his wing, and like a little child. I was a hippie, long hair, long beard, and but Abhiram saw something. He saw that, and he literally it was like my mommy in a sense, and he knew just how to handle me. He's so intelligent. He knew just like he could see right. I could tell he was empowered by Prabhupada. He was empowered by the entire parampara. It was very powerful, but it was so personal that I love him. And in some ways, you may be feeling that about me. You're feeling love, and this is real love, by the way. This is so sweet. So just as much as Ellie, who's training her daughter, loves her mommy, as my mommy loved me. I just know my mommy loved me even more than I was capable of loving my mommy back. And so I feel that. I feel there's no way I can express to Abhiram how much I love him and think about him. That if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And this is in the early days. He'd only been a devotee for 3 years, but boy, was he empowered. So yeah, it's really sweet. And of course, back then Prabhupada was with us. No one else was initiating. But Prabhupada says in his books, the person who gives diksha, shiksha, should be the one to give diksha. It got a little wacky in ISKCON, but anyway. But that's how it should be, and that's why I always encourage people that come to me. Let's spend time together and see if it's working. See if you're able to grow, if the way I'm helping you, because I don't believe I'm the right person for everyone. Abhiram was just like the perfect person for me. Perfect. He knew how to not. he could like see my weaknesses and where the buttons not to push and buttons to push, and he was so expert. And I'm eternally indebted to him. So that's what you're feeling. Very, very sweet. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Any final thoughts, questions? Anybody want their money back? Okay, great. Well, thank you all for being here. Ellie, we're going to meet later today. You're going to let me know what time is good.
Yes, that's right. I haven't heard back yet from my landlord about what time she's coming, but I will let you
Okay,
know as soon as I know.
I've got really nothing on my agenda other than studying, and so it's like a rainy day here in Hawaii. So
Wonderful.
actually,
Thank
it
you.
looks like it stopped raining. But anyway, yeah, just let me know.
I will.
And I'll be seeing Gansham on Monday.
Yes, Gurudev.
With Jayendra.
Yes.
Yeah. How's he doing? Have you been communicating with him?
Yes, Gurudev. So he also joins our Sangha with Govinda Maharaj. So he also joins that class.
And he's enjoying that? He's liking that?
Yes, he's enjoying.
Good. Yeah, Govinda's a wonderful devotee. And my God brother. He's wonderful, wonderful person. Very, very humble. And very, very sweet, very pure. Good association. All right, Prabhuji, it's great being with you. Thank you for allowing me to serve you, because that's where the nectar's at. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hari Bol.
Jai Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.